Hey guys, Hecon's here with another World of Warcraft gold making guide. So only 1 month into BFA and I've had over 44 million gold in sales on these two accounts on just one of my main realms. 23 million gold spent when purchasing mats, which means I made over 21 million gold total profit. That figure should actually be over 25 mil, but there's 4 to 5 million gold in sales that TSM didn't record since I had WoW crash after looting a couple of my mailboxes. With the price of WoW tokens staying at around 105k, that 21 million gold could buy 200 tokens and pay for over 16 years of game time, or I could convert it all into $3,000 of BattleNet balance. I've had a lot of people ask me how I'm able to maintain high prices on my realms, so in today's video I thought to go over how I reset markets to maximize my profit. So as an example, I'm going to be resetting the Darkmoon deck blockades market since they've fallen too low in this realm. As you can see, there are 9 listed currently for between 42 and 55k. Buying these out would cost me a total of 391.5k to reset. It's going to be a lot of gold for many watching, but remember that you can always reset other lower price items if you identify a potential opportunity in that market. One example of an item is Lost Mail, which I've successfully reset on countless realms with very little capital. I don't remember if I mentioned it in any of my 1 billion gold challenge videos, but I have shown it on my Twitch streams and VODs, resetting and flipping Lost Mail on virtually every realm that I'm on, even the higher pops like Thrall, Dalaran, and Tychondrius. When you reset or try to flip, stick to markets that you know very well. Since the bulk of my sales in this realm are from Darkmoon decks, I'm familiar with where prices have been, what buyers have been willing to pay, how fast each deck sells, etc. One other key thing to remember when you reset a market is that you'll likely need to reset the mats required to make that item. As an example, if you reset a particular flask, you'll generally want to reset the herbs that go into making that flask. So an alchemist can't just buy out the herbs off the auction house, make more, and undercut your reset. That's one of the most common mistakes I see people make when they try and reset. With the case of the Darkmoon decks, there's a fair amount of shuffling that goes into making each card, scrapping for the expulsum, milling the herbs, then turning the pigment into ink, so I've decided that simply buying out all of one of the blockades cards will be sufficient for this reset. Oftentimes, if decks are too expensive, people will just buy one of each card and make their own deck, or worse, a competitor might see the decks got reset and do the same. The more cards that you buy out, the better, and you can even buy out the mats you think the competitors are shuffling to get their expulsum. On this realm, there isn't much competition, to be honest, so I'm just going to be buying out the 3 of blockades. There's one at 5k and 7 more at around 5.3k, so that's going to be an extra 42.1k we spent on our reset. The total reset is going to cost 433.6k, which means the break-even price is 50.7k per deck, factoring in the 5% auction house cut. Alright, so I've gone ahead and reset both the 3 of blockades and the Darkmoon deck blockades. I've set the 3 of blockades to 200k and the decks to 150. Ideally, I'd like to sell a few of the decks at that high price, but I'll share my sales and progress on the reset over the next couple of days. So it's been 1 day since I reset the blockades, and I had a bunch of sales today, so I thought I'd go over those now. Between the Darkmoon decks and enchants on this realm, I had a 1.5 million gold sales day. The weapon enchants I'm selling for 4k plus, all the way up to... Some of the ring enchants I was able to sell for 25k, which is ridiculously insane profit. The veiled crystals I'm picking up for between 2 to 3k on this realm, and then the ember shards and gloom dust I'm getting from shuffling bracers, either from leatherworking or tailoring, depending on what mats are the cheapest. I also end up flipping another Jewel's Jovial Drape. I picked this one up for 75k, when I noticed that the next highest was around 150, so I bought out the one that was 75 and just undercut the 150, and that sold within probably like an hour to 2 hours. The Darkmoon decks are still selling quite well. They started in the morning at around 118k after the auction house cut, and then dropped to under 100k in the afternoon, but they're still quite profitable even at 80 or 90k, so those are some solid sales. And then as I was saying, here's one of the enchants that sold for 25k. The enchant ring Pact of Critical Strike. I think I'm 3 out of 4 on having the rank 3s for the higher end ring recipes, so these are pretty profitable. I'm just picking up the Veiled Crystals for 2 to 3k. I think at rank 3 they take 4 if I recall correctly. So it's like a 12k crafting cost for the Veiled Crystals, assuming you pay 3k. And then you're doubling your money off of that. Yeah, I sold quite a few Fathoms today. Here's 3 more sales at 80.7k. 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, it's like over 500,000 gold right there, just from the Dark Moon deck Fathoms. And then the one I'm most interested in is the Dark Moon deck Blockades. Unfortunately, I only sold one today, but I ended up getting 95k for it. Or a little bit over 100k before the auction house cut. Keep in mind that I did end up resetting that market, and I bought out 9 decks at, I think it was 9 decks at 391.5k, and then I did also buy out those cards. I believe it was like 3 blockades for 42.1k, bringing the cost basis of my reset to 433k. So this 95k sale is really awesome. I'm still red around 340k from that reset, but I still have 8 more decks left to sell, and that means I only need to get around 40k per deck to break even. And the blockades are holding steady at around 90 to 100k right now, so it's actually going to be a pretty profitable flip, assuming no one tanks the market on the blockades. So I also noticed that the Dark Moon deck Tides and the Squalls was down pretty low. For the Squalls it was under 20k. As you guys can see, I ended up selling one at 17.1k. And then the Tides was around 24.7k. There were about 3 different sellers in the market. So I ended up resetting both markets, and I think I spent around 400k to do that. But now they're sitting at around 80k for the Tides, and then I believe the Squalls is around 50k. So we should see some nice profit from those as well once those sell. So it's been 2 days since having reset the blockades, and I wanted to go over my mailbox really quick before I went to bed. So to start, I wanted to go over today's purchases. As you guys can see, I ended up winning the Dark Moon deck Blockades for 20k. Someone had undercut me with a really low starting bid on their auction, so I ended up bidding on that and then undercutting them back. Remember that if they wanted to cancel that auction, they would take a pretty steep penalty since it already has a bid on it. And they didn't end up canceling that auction, and I ended up winning with that minimum bid of 20k. You'll also notice later that some of my enchantment prices are a lot lower than they were yesterday, and that's because the Veiled Crystals were a lot cheaper today than they were yesterday. I picked up a bunch at under 2k. I saved some of those auctions here so I could show you guys, but the stacks I ended up looting already, and I used those for my enchantments that I sold today. So I'm going to loot my purchases really quick, and then we'll go over the sales. So these are my sales from today on the salt. I ended up with roughly 1.2 million gold, which is a lot less than yesterday's sales, but yesterday was Tuesday, which is the day of reset for NA, and a lot of people are looting their Mythic Plus caches on Tuesdays, so a lot more enchantments sold, and the prices were a little bit better on those enchantments as well. The Dark Moon deck Fathoms are really solid sellers. I'm moving around probably between like 6 to 10 a day. I ended up getting, the lowest today was 65.5k, but As you guys can see, they were over 80k this morning. The higher end ring enchants are still selling for a lot of gold. I think the lowest is around 15k. And actually 12k for the haste one, but they were 14k this morning. And then some of the other ones like crit I'm getting close to 19k for. And as I mentioned earlier, the veiled crystals were under 2k, so that is really good profit. So most importantly, we're going to check the sales for our blockades. It looks like I ended up selling 2 today, one at 61.7k, and one other one at 80.7k this morning. So yesterday we were in the red around 340k from our reset, but thanks to these 2 sales, we're now around 200k in the red, with 6 decks left to sell. Also remember that I picked up another deck at 20k, so if my math is correct, that's 216.2k in the red, with 7 decks left to sell, which means we only need to sell each deck for 30k to break even. The blockades are around 60k right now, so hopefully they'll stay near there and we'll make a pretty nice profit at the end. So this is day 3, and here are my sales from today. As you guys can see, I have around 967k in my mailbox right now, with 1 mail not showing. I also have 2 auctions which are incoming. The Enchant Ring Pact of Critical Strike, which sold for 15k. We'll see that in about a minute. And then the Dark Moon Deck Fathoms, where someone placed a bid at 70.5k. That auction ends in 30 minutes.
If you find anything exotic, bring it to me.
So as far as purchases from today, I ended up grabbing 4 of the Enchant Weapon Masterful Navigations at around 3.2k each. Those were sitting at around 6.4k, but someone ended up undercutting one of the auctions with a stack of 2, but using the price of 1. And then 2 others undercut them, so I was able to grab these 4 for half the price. And as you guys can see, a little bit later, I ended up selling 3 of them at a little over 6k after the auction house cut, so that was a nice quick flip. 3k profit, I guess, per enchant, so what's that, 12k for the 4. As far as the Dark Moon Deck blockades, I ended up selling one in the morning for 61.7k. And then 2 more later in the day at 56k each. Yesterday we ended the day in the red around 216k from our reset. But those 3 sales puts us at only 42.5k in the red. And we still have 4 decks left to sell that we picked up from our reset. That means that we only need to sell each deck for around 10k to break even. The blockades are actually sitting at around 70k right now, so we're looking at another 250,000 gold from those 4 decks, assuming the prices hold, and it's going to be like a 200k profit from our reset. I also ended up shuffling a bunch earlier today, so I have even more Dark Moon Deck blockades in my bags to sell. As you guys can see, I have around 13 in my bags right now, and then 3 up on the auction house. As far as other sales from today, it's pretty much the same as yesterday's. Sales from Dark Moon decks, the weapon enchants, and the higher end ring enchants. I was able to pick up a bunch of veiled crystals earlier today for around 1.5k, so it's going to make for some cheap enchants and some nice profit tomorrow and over the weekend. Anyways, that's all for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow in day 4. So it's Friday night, a little after midnight, and we're 4 days into our reset. a fairly slow sales day, as I only have around 700k right now in my mailbox, but we did sell 3 of the blockades decks earlier today, and we're actually in the green thanks to those sales. So as you guys can see, I ended up selling 2 of them earlier in the day for 65.5k, and then I also sold one at 71.2k later in the day when the prices rebounded a bit. So yesterday we ended the day in the red around 42k from our reset. These 3 sales puts us at around 160k profit from our reset, which is awesome. And we still have that last deck left to sell that we bought from our reset. The market price of the blockades is at around 75k right now, so that means we're going to see a profit of around 235k total from our reset. As far as the other decks, the prices are a little bit higher than they were yesterday. As you guys can see, I ended up selling a Fathoms deck after I relisted yesterday for 67k, it looks like, after the auction house cut. While today the Fathoms decks are going for around 65k, or 85k rather. So when I woke up this morning, I was one of the only sellers in a few of the Darkmoon deck markets, so I was able to get a nice sale on the Skulls for 95k, which is awesome. Remember that I ended up picking up a bunch at around probably like 15 to 20k, so that was a nice flip. And the enchant prices are still holding pretty steady. The ring enchants are going for between like 10 to 15k. And I'm still finding a bunch of cheap veiled crystals at around, I think the lowest was like 1.2k, but generally I'm grabbing them for between 1.5k to 2k per veiled crystal. Looks like we got some nice solid sales on the mastery enchants at 14.2k after the auction house cut. And the weapon enchants are still moving very steady. Getting around 4k to 5k it looks like on those. So it's probably like a 2 to 3k profit per enchant. Anyways, we're in a really good position right now since the blockades market is relatively high, sitting at around 75k as I mentioned earlier. And then we also have all these decks that we crafted throughout the week that we're going to be able to sell tomorrow. Saturday usually tends to be a big sales day, so I'm hoping for a lot of sales and big numbers. I usually probably do like 2 to 3 million gold on a Saturday, so hopefully we can sustain that. I'll probably do one last unboxing like this, showing off my mailbox from tomorrow, so see you guys then. So it's 2:40 a.m. on Sunday, and we're going to go over sales from Saturday, or day 5. So as you guys can see, I ended the day with around 1.8 million gold in sales, with 6 mils not showing. If you factor in those 6 mils, it's probably going to work out to closer to 2 million, which is usually my goal for Saturdays. We did sell that one last blockades at 70.5k this morning, which means we're in the green 230k from our reset. Let's factor in the 9 cards that we bought when we did the reset. I think I picked up a 10th one on day 2. And then we also did that buyout on the 3 blockades as part of that reset. So we ended up making around 23k per deck, which is awesome. In addition to that, we were able to sell, it looks like 4 of our own blockades at 66k. And then 2 more later tonight at 61.7k. Remember that when we did the reset, the blockades were around 42k, so not only did we turn a profit on the ones that we reset, we were able to get much more on our own blockades, Had we left the blockades at 42k, they probably would have ended up in the 30s, and we probably would have gotten half of these prices. So overall, it's a pretty successful reset. Still have plenty of blockades left to sell, and the prices are holding steady at between 60 to 70k right now, so that's awesome. We also ended up selling a bunch of enchants today. Sales are similar to Tuesday's figure, which was, I think I made 1.5 million on Tuesday. Some of the ring enchants are down to under 10k. I think I saw a few sales at, yeah, the Pact of Haste at 9.5k. I think someone actually reset these earlier today, so the ones that I have up now are around 25k, and hopefully those move on Sunday or later today. And the weapon enchants are still holding steady at over 4k. The Stalwart Navigation is down to 3.5, but all the others are selling for 4.1, 4.6, 4.6. Oh, and the Gale Force Striking I ended up resetting since they were down to under 1k, which is like a third or a quarter of the crafting cost, so now I'm getting around 3k for those, which is awesome. I didn't even craft any extra ones, just selling off the ones I got for cheap at 1k and tripling my gold on those, which is always nice. So as you saw from my sales over the past 5 days, resetting markets can be quite beneficial and profitable. In the examples I showed in this video, I was able to make a substantial profit on every item that I reset. However, there are instances where you might fail a reset and lose gold due to unforeseen circumstances. I wouldn't let a few mistakes discourage you from resetting and flipping, as you'll get better with time and learning from those mistakes. Hopefully this video helps you out, and thanks a lot for watching. As always, I wanted to give a shout out to my backers on Patreon. Thank you so much for your generous pledges, and I appreciate your support. Hope you guys are all having a great week, and I will see you all in the next video. Late.